1988. It's the year of the Jamaican bobsled team, of Eddie the Eagle Edwards. It's the year that Stephen Hawking released A Brief History of Time, and the NWA released Straight Outta Compton. Now, these are the stories of the year that got turned into films in the years that followed, but I'm here to talk about the films of 1988, the box office successes, the critical successes, the awards darlings, the forgotten gems and the cult classics that were well ahead of their time. My name's Kieren King. This is They Don't Make 'Em Like They Used To, and here are, in my opinion, the best films of 1988. In number 10, we've got High Hopes, a film released on the 24th of September 1988 and directed by Salford-born Mike Leigh. Great fella, used to live around the corner, looks like a lovely uncle. A British class comedy set over a period of a couple of days in London and focuses on a working class delivery driver, a bit of a lefty, his girlfriend and his conflicted relationship with his family, kind of centred around his mum's birthday. Really sweet, but there's an anger in it. The lead character, Cyril, played by Phil Davis, he knows that he's on the losing side, that the lefties have lost. This is in peak Thatcher era Britain, where council houses are being sold off and not replaced but bought by yuppies. His mum, a working class Tory, is living in an area that's becoming more and more affluent and she's being pushed out as she seems to be slowly succumbing to dementia. The beating heart of this film is Ruth Sheen's Shirley, who plays Cyril's partner, who stands by him through thick and thin, the only constant in his life. Her performance is an absolute wonder. It really is just one that puts a smile on your face and a beat in your heart. In number 9, it's Midnight Run, a film starring Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin, an action road comedy where Charles Grodin is on the run from the mob and the FBI, and Robert De Niro is the bounty hunter set to bring him in and get ahead of all the bounty hunters in the process to do it. He has 48 hours to get him from one side of America to the other, and it's a joy. It's a story that's been told to death, to be fair, but it's the way in the telling, it's the journey, and it's the fact that the actors in this are so obviously enjoying making the film that it just sparks off the screen. The chemistry is wonderful.
Can I ask you something? These sunglasses, they're really nice. Are they government issued or do all you guys go like to the same store to get them?
In number 8 we have Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown, a film directed by Pedro Almodovar. I believe I've got that right. Apologies if I murder any pronunciations. It's a Spanish comedy. It's a proper farce and it is wonderful. The main lead character has been left by her partner Ivan and does not know why. A lot of the stories told over the telephone conversations of people actually meeting, of misunderstandings, and as it being an Almodovar film, everyone's Spanish and horny. And it's great. It's got a really young Antonio Banderas in there, and it is just shy of being a telenovela in the terms of the ridiculousness. All the emotions are turned up to 11 in a way that's just shy of being unbearable, but everything goes over the top and it's wonderful. In number 7 we have Who Framed Roger Rabbit, starring Bob Hoskins as Eddie Valiant, in a world where animated characters and the real people coexist. Bob Hoskins, a washed-up PI recovering from the death of his brother murdered at the hands of a toon, has to find out who indeed framed Roger Rabbit. This was one of my favourite films when I was a kid, still one of my favourite films now. It has the elements of mystery in there, and it isn't just for kids, there's plenty for adults there too. Jessica Rabbit is still hot. Alright, in joint 6th, we've got Grave of the Fireflies and My Neighbor Totoro, 2 Japanese animations produced by Studio Ghibli. In Grave of the Fireflies, 2 Japanese siblings, after the hospitalisation of the mother in World War II, have to find a way to survive together. And in My Neighbor Totoro, 2 Japanese siblings, after the hospitalisation of their mother, go away with their father and also have to deal with a potential death in the family. 2 films are yin and yang, black and white. Grave of the Fireflies is intense and sweet, but there is a definite gloom over the picture, whereas Totoro is sunlight in comparison. There is the lingering possibility of the death of a parent in both of them. Totoro leaves it fairly ambiguous as to whether this happened in the girls' heads or whether these fantastical creatures are real. In Grave of the Fireflies, the dangers are very much real, the fireflies are real, but they are both sweet depictions of how siblings interact. These films are like but very different and highly recommended. It doesn't go so far to say that as the Studio Ghibli productions, the animation is stunning in both. Definitely check them both out. Yeah, I know that it's 2 films in one and I'm cheating already on my first video, but yeah, start your meeting, go on. In number 5 we have Akira. Is a Japanese manga that I really didn't get the first time I saw it. I saw it, I think, a little bit too young. Not as young as I was when my grandma accidentally rented Fritz the Cat, but young enough to not understand it. This film that I've rewatched has just blown me away again. It is set in a post-apocalyptic New Tokyo and features bike gangs, political conspiracies, psychic powers, and a giant hemorrhoid. It's featuring Tetsuo and Kaneda as one, the leader of a bike gang, and the other, his compatriot who finds strange new powers which may or may not destroy the world. Is it too much hyperbole to say that this is the most influential animated film since Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? Probably, but I can't think of another one off the top of my head. In number 4 we have The Vanishing, which is a Dutch thriller whereby Rex and Saskia are on holiday in France and then Saskia goes missing, hence the title. This one is, I'm going to be really careful to avoid spoilers because you really need to see this. It is a tense, horrible and darkly funny film. You spend an uncomfortable amount of time with the villain of the piece and really get into this person's head. Yeah, I don't want to say too much about this, but you definitely need to watch this and not the crap American remake. Number 3, we have Cinema Paradiso, an Italian drama film. And this is about the love of cinema. It's told mostly in flashback when a Italian film director gets called back to his Sicilian village home where his old friend has passed away and he's going back for the funeral. Most of this is told through the child's eyes views and later a teenager's views of cinema. It's also about wanting to get away and make something more of yourself and leaving all that behind. It's got one of the greatest closing scenes of all time, montage-wise, not a dry eye in the house. And like most films where Ennio Morricone scored it, the music itself's almost like another character, it just lifts everything. In number 2 we have Distant Voices, Still Lives. It's a British drama film. Now this one was a little underappreciated at the time, did win a fair few awards, but not many people were talking about it in the preceding years. It's got a little bit more of a following recently. Stars Pete Postlethwaite as a domineering father figure over a Liverpudlian family in the middle of World War II. Most of this is told in flashback and out of sequence in a kind of like a dreamscape as scenes merge into one another going through from the 40s into the 50s. A lot of this spends time in the pub with how the characters interact and a lot of songs, a lot of singing in the pub, a lot of character work. Not a lot happens, but everything happens. You really get to live with these characters for a couple of hours. Which brings us to number 1 on our list, the greatest film of 1988 in my honest opinion. And what does that even mean? I mean, you're looking at films as an art form or films with beautiful cinematography, wonderful scripts, fantastic acting, or maybe just a film that's so damn entertaining you go back to it year on year on year. This film is a film that actually changed action films for the better for the years following. Obviously, it's Die Hard.
Welcome to the party, pal!
Directed by John McTiernan and starring Bruce Willis. You know the story, it's about a bunch of joyous freedom-fighting Germans who get trapped in the Nakatomi Plaza with a gun-toting American nutjob. One of those films that I just keep going back to. John McClane is a quintessentially wonderful character in that schlubby guys like me that are out of shape can relate to. I think one thing that the Die Hard films that have followed this may have forgotten is that John McClane's human and he's vulnerable, both emotionally and physically. He gets his arse handed to him all the way through this film, scraping through by the skin of his teeth. There's a lot of humanity that's been taken from John McClane in the more recent Die Hard films. And that's without even mentioning Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber in his first film performance, his film debut with this iconic boo-hiss worthy and what kind of cheerable villain who gets his suits from Savile Row.
To be professional, efficient, adult, cooperative, not a lot to ask. Alas, your Mr. Takagi did not see it that way, so he won't be joining us for the rest of his life.
Fantastic. Did you know how many Oscar nominations Alan Rickman got throughout his entire career? None. That's why the Oscars are bollocks. And there it is, that was the first in a series that we're going to be doing on retrospective top 10 lists of films in the years that follow. I think we're going to do 1997 next, so yeah, look out for that one. What did you think? Do you think you can do better? Are the films that I missed out? Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment with your own top 10s in the comments section. I'm not going to read them, but it's really good for the algorithm if you do, so it boosts up those ratings. That'd be lovely of you. Cyril's mum, who lives in a council house, works in a council house. In number 10 we have Hi-Ho. Oh no, we've already done that bit, haven't we? Cyril, played by Phil Davis. Can we go now? Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.